be great. If not, I can teach without it, so it's fine. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about today is writing synopsises. But of course, we only have 45 minutes, so I feel like that this could be like a 3-day course. I wanted to ask you guys, hey, where are you at in your processes? So maybe we should start there. How many of you are pre-published? I can't see, so you're gonna have to give me a number from the library.
Hands. There's a few hands, not very many.
Not very many. Okay. So how many people feel like that they understand what makes a great synopsis and why they're important? Hands.
There's a few, mostly no hands.
Okay. So maybe we can just bypass this conversation. All right, we're going to make it easy. I'm just going to say some simple things about synopsis, and we're not going to even touch on this because I feel like the other conversation I want to have with you guys is more important if you guys are more advanced authors. So,
I think most of us are indie authors anyway.
Yeah. So with a synopsis, where it comes in really, really important is not actually in selling to the traditional market. You guys are probably going to hear it and think that's crazy. But one of the things I really believe in is being a hybrid author and harnessing the power of your indie market. So for me, for being a traditional author, what I've ran into a few times here, I'm going to go straight for you guys. Sample, give me sideways. What I've actually ran into is where producers will reach out to me and go, hey, I really like your book. It's a HarperCollins title. And I say, well, I don't own that. Because when you sign with a traditional press, you sign over all of those rights. You give them merchandising rights. I mean, you negotiate everything, but we don't talk about that a whole lot. We don't talk about Bruno, right? So when you sign those contracts, they do go away. But if you have your indie author background and you have the hybrid market, what you can actually end up doing is producing your books and making them into films. So for me, I said, hey, I don't own this, but I do own this other project, and I think it's just as good. And so we ended up leveraging an indie book into film and selling those rights and film rights to a producer. And so when I talk about why these are important, it has more to do with that. Because with the synopsis, what you can do is actually what is created. So we're doing the next level course from what I wrote, because this is like, okay, we're all good. So with a synopsis, you can actually build what is called a pitch deck. And how many of you have worked with film a little bit? Anyone?
One hand.
Okay, yeah, because it was a huge learning curve for me, and I didn't even really think about it as being an option. And then there we were. And it's happened a few different times where I've sold those independent book rights to film agencies and producers. So this can happen out of nowhere. It can happen off of Twitter. It can happen off of social media. And we can talk about that more with the business sustainability model. But yes, so you want to set yourself up for success in as many ways as possible. If you outline, that's another thing that we can talk about, but working off of an outline and creating that synopsis of it. So when you're creating your pitch deck for film, what you end up doing is taking your full synopsis and fitting it into the end of the pitch deck, which is where you take to your financiers and all of your big guys and Universal Studios, and you go there and you go, this is what we want to make. So it's nice to have all of that information there, and especially if you're doing, like Maggie said, hey, she's like, I'm doing 7 books. Well, if you're doing 7 books, you don't have, and you're on book 7, this way you don't have to go back to book 1 and go, what did I write? And you have a full and already built synopsis for that, and roadmap for film if you choose to go there. So one of the tools, and Leah Miles is a very good friend of mine. What she and I've talked about at length is going, let's build it up on OneDrive, or OneNote, let's build everything we have here and create a roadmap. And so if you have all of your foundational documents built, synopsis, outline, and like character interviews, all of the things that go with being a new author, that's where you can take it to the next level. So do you guys have any questions about writing a synopsis at all? For film, for big publishing houses, if you wanted to get into a traditional publishing contract? Anyone? Okay. If I don't hear anything, we're going to jump into the next one. Okay.
Danica, I have the PowerPoints. Do you want me to put one of them up, or?
Let's let me look at the other one here. So the other one is creating a sustainability model for authors. And I think that that is probably where you guys are going to fit better for me. So you don't have to pull it up. I'll just read off of it if that's okay with you guys. And then if you want to pull it up, you can and run it off of there. So
It might be good to pull it up if it's no trouble.
yeah, if you don't if you have it. Okay. So why sustainability is important for authors. Maggie, you already touched on it, said, and so I did a bunch of research for this class, for this particular one, and they actually, according to Bowker, there was over 1 million books self-published in 2021, which, yes, absolutely translates to 2,700 new books a day being launched every day. However, this number does not include traditionally published books, and it doesn't include the number of books where self-published authors utilize free ISBNs. So I don't know about you guys. I own self-publishing services, and I tell people not to buy ISBNs, especially if they're just hobby writers. If you are going for making 120 books, writing 120 books, putting out 120 books, putting a book out every 3 months, then we're having a different conversation. But if you're writing 2 books a year, maybe 1 book a year, 1 book every 2 years, there's really no sense in having an ISBN. It's money that you don't need to spend. I would rather push people into using or utilizing editing services and having really strong covers instead of paying for ISBNs. Where ISBNs become important, and we can have this conversation because not everybody would agree with me, but where ISBNs are important is moving reviews. But that is kind of an antiquated business model that I see going away. So with the advent of Goodreads, because what has ended up happening is I'm sure you guys know, Goodreads and Amazon are linked. Yes. So when somebody puts a review up on Goodreads, it automatically goes to all the different ISBNs that are associated with the book, whether you own them or whether Amazon owns them or Ingram owns them or Draft Digital owns them or whoever else you want to use as your publishing platform. So those ISBNs are being outdated unless you're traditionally published, and in that way it's a little bit the same, but it is a little bit different because that affects where you're put on the shelf in an actual physical bookstore. But that isn't the model for self-publishing. So all right, so as far as what does this mean when we're getting inundated and slammed by so many books every day? We spoke about it already, that discoverability is a problem. Especially with the AI books coming out right now. I see ads all the time. I don't know if you guys see these, but on like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, this lady, I just saw it literally like 2 hours ago. She's like, I'm not an author, but I'm making 6 figures a year. Well, how is she doing that? She's doing that through AI and really harnessing that power. And I think that they're going to have to crack down on that. And I'm sure that they will, because especially with the copyright infringements, I don't know how many of you guys have dealt with that, but I'm on that lawsuit, so I can actively talk about it, where they steal titles and plagiarize material. It's going to get cracked down. It's just going to take time. So what does sustainability mean to us? First of all, and this is where I started talking about, let's build that foundation. Your first question, and I think if all of you guys are self-published authors, or the primary group here is self-published authors, you have to ask, what is my goal? When I started writing, I wasn't writing obviously for big houses. I wasn't doing any of that. And I had to ask myself the same question. And for me, and for probably you guys as well, is you want to contribute. You want to contribute to society. Something has happened in your past, and we can talk about how characters are built off of this too, which could be a fun conversation. But what drives us as people, what drives us as individuals, and what drives us as a community, whether we're RWA or not RWA, we're all choosing a path that is really, really similar. So that has to say something about all of us. And I think that what we can walk away with that is that we want to make a difference. We want to provide escape. We want to entertain. And why is that important? And these are questions you need to ask yourself, because maybe your answers are different. Maybe I know one of my girlfriends just passed away from cancer. She was a Carrie Lindell. She died from ovarian cancer. She goes, I want to make a difference before my time is up. So, I mean, but in the end, it comes back to the same. We want to make a difference. We want to have a legacy. We want to leave something behind that other people can pull from and have that wealth of knowledge. So why is that important to you? Obviously, I think I touched on that. What does being successful as an author mean to you? And that needs to go back to your goal. It's almost like Deborah Dixon. What's our goal, motivation, and conflict as authors? So being successful as an author, it's funny because I think that regardless of where you're at in your journey, one could say, oh, I really want to make money. And that's nice, but that's not the way the business is working. We have to bring something else to the table and then build it for money. It doesn't automatically come unless you're generating AI books, which is a different conversation. And that is not sustainable. As much as they're making, it's like every other boom ends and it fizzles out because people take advantage of it. And so again, we need to create actually sustainable business models. And that means creating books that make promises, that deliver, and that fulfill not only our goals as authors, but our goals for our readers. So what else could it mean? What else could success mean as an author? Money, fame. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. But again, I think for me, and I don't know how many of you guys would say this, but success means that somebody comes up to me and goes, you made a difference in my life. And I'm glad to say that that has actually happened. One of my very early books was about domestic violence. I worked with Kohl's in their AI or their, I can't remember what it's called now, their outreach program. When we ended up doing a philanthropic event for a release of a series release, and we generated $15,000 for my local YWCA, which is a women's battered shelter community where they can go and seek refuge in emergency situations. And that to me meant more than anything that I could make a difference in these women's lives and provide this literal escape while also promoting books, but creating stories that resonated with them and that provided hope and escape. So I'm really proud of that. I think that is my peak as an author, is to have a woman come up to me and say, hey, I read your book, and she just started crying. And I was like, perfect. Everything after this is gravy. So may you all have moments like that, where you see your success and you see the win, because we need those moments of empowerment in this business, especially with discoverability being so hard. But I'm here to help you guys if you need pushes and whatever. We can have private conversations at any time. You guys can call and text me and Instagram me. I love to outreach. So, all right. One of the first things to building a strong foundation as an author and having a sustainable business model is actually building a mission statement and having a mission statement. So another way to put this is eventually having a log line. Now, I went and dug around on the internet. That led to why I probably need drink packages on the cruise line. I wanted to see what the big guys were doing, and I said, these people that have sold billions of books, what is their mission statement? What are their log lines? What are they saying to authors to readers that are driving sales? So I said, let's gas tail. So the first one I, of course, picked was, they are quoted as America's favorite novelist by the New Yorker in 2023 with more than 200 titles. I don't know if you guys can guess who it is, but it's one of my favorites. It's Nora Roberts. Absolutely Nora Roberts. Good job. Whoever said that. I can't see faces right now because I'm looking at my presentation, but
Maggie.
Great job. So Meg, I assume that was you, but all right. And then the second author I was looking at, he's the most popular storyteller of our time, writing children's books, biographies, and Emmy-winning television series based on his thrillers. Can you name that author?
James Patterson. We have a James Patterson.
James Patterson. Isn't it amazing? The only two guesses you had, and you're right on the nose. That tells us something, doesn't it? Their mission statements the things that are being said about them are so on point because of the foundation they built as authors off of their initial mission statements. So what they did and what made them stand out in Nora Roberts' situation. She was built during a different generation, which is awesome, and I think her business model is so smart. But she's very, very consistent in what she provides for her readers, right? Very consistent. And the stories change, and even the genres kind of slip a little bit, but her voice is so strong. When we hear Nora Roberts, when we read a Nora Roberts book, we know exactly who wrote it, especially for big romance readers. Now, I don't know if I can say the same of James Patterson because he looked at it as a business and he created it from a business standpoint. And what he is doing now with creating, what are they called? Books. They're not book scans. The little airport novels, right? With having ghostwriters come in and write for him. Well, he's doing, that's actually really, really smart. It's very, very smart. And when I opened up our conversation and I said, we need to start thinking about that as book groups, as writing groups, like your guys' chapter organization, that could be a really cool opportunity. And I know Leah has actually asked me to write for you guys, and I did this winter, creating more of that. And I think that is phenomenal. So keep going, guys. I think it's so, so, so cool. All right. So the other aspect of what has made them so amazing is not only their writing abilities and their voice, their strong voices, strong marketing teams, but their outreach, their philanthropy as authors. They do so much. They give so much. They give so much back to their community. And I think that makes a huge difference, not only in their writing and their storytelling, but showing that they're amazing human beings as well. So when you're writing a book, I think Jamie Crouch did a really, really good job of that. And it's actually what broke her into the market. She did a philanthropic event for cerebral palsy, or cystic, actually, I think it was cystic fibrosis, I misspoke, about 6 years ago. And that's what launched her onto USA Today bestsellers list. So it's those moments where you're like, not only am I writing a good product and writing a good book, but I'm creating a business model that gives back. And I think that's super duper important. And I obviously I'm hammering on that point today because we talk about working as teams, but I think we need to even think beyond that. We need to think, how can we make a difference in the world? Our team. All right. So when we're talking about building you as an author independently, because you have to be an author first and then a group second, what can people expect from the books you write? For me, I write law enforcement, I write dark, I write gritty, and I write kind of a little bit funny. And I know that's not a log line, but I can tell you right now that is absolutely right every time. It doesn't matter if there's magic. It doesn't matter if there's not magic. It doesn't matter if it's a short story. It doesn't matter. I mean, there's always going to be some element of darkness to it. And people have come to know that for me, and they love it. If you meet me in real life, normally I'm wearing pink. It's a very strange juxtaposition between who I am and what I write. But that's not what I give out to the world and my identity versus what I write and put out on paper. But my voice is important, and your voice is important, and James Patterson's voice is important because people need consistency. They need to have that. And I think especially with new authors and self-published authors is sometimes we fail at that. We try to please too many people. We try to listen to the naysayers and the reviewers who are like, oh, I really hated this. I take it with a grain of salt, and I'm sure you've heard that. But seriously, you cannot change who you are. You have to be comfortable with what you're doing, and know very, very clearly where you're running and what your goal is as an author. And based off of that, that's where we need to create a log line. So my log line, and I'm going to try to do it off the top of my head because I should have written it down, but no, I didn't, is everyday heroes doing extraordinary things. So something like that, but it's very clear. And I normally have like a dark, gritty background for it, and it's beautiful. But yes, all right. So when you create your log line, make sure that it's on your website. Make sure that it's everywhere. Obviously, I do as I say, not as I do. Right. So what are you writing for? That's our next question as an author. So we started with our mission statement. Now we need to know what is our demographic? And especially for special self-publishing authors, marketing, this is huge. All right. If you say, I am writing for myself, that is absolutely a legitimate answer. Okay. There we go. say I'm writing to make dollars, to be a career author, also a legitimate answer. And that doesn't matter how you're publishing, it's just that's what I want to do. Okay. But next to that, and if we're all writing romance, which I believe we all are in this group, the demographics actually have shifted in the last 5 years, which I thought was incredibly interesting because I used to be a marketing representative for a publishing house, and now I get to look and be like, oh, this is awesome because it's exactly what we wanted to have happen 10 years ago. So according to Nielsen Bookscan reports, romance buyers have shifted slightly. If they've always been South and Midwest regions of the U.S., that's a core market. I'd also even say into Detroit. I'm here.
You're back.
Are we there? Am I back? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, guys. So my phone overheated. That's a new one for me. I'm going to take it out and try to pull it off. I guess I'm just getting so excited. All right. So if you guys can't hear me again, Maggie, just text me or just say, hey, Danica, we can't hear you, because I could actually hear you. All right. So with what I was saying about Nielsen Bookscan, 44% of romance buyers are age 18 to 44. That's a huge accomplishment because that is the coveted age range. That is the coveted readership base right there. And we have it. We have it and we didn't, like I said, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, our demographic was homeowners, women, Christian-based, obviously. Southern, the Bible Belt was really, really big. But our age range was hanging between 34 and 62. So we've shifted into a younger demographic as our primary market is romance writers. Super interesting. And I'd like to see the science behind that. Like, why has that happened? And I would like to see the educational background and the analytics behind that. But I think that maybe, and I'm guessing here, but I think that what has happened is less women are getting married, which we know. And because less women are actually getting married, they're going to romance in place of that. And so we need to capitalize on this age demographic and boom in that readership base. So especially you self-published authors, run with that number, run with that demographic, because not many people are. I can tell you that. Like I said, I do a lot of self-publishing stuff. And like I said, I'm seeing people really concentrate on that readership base from 34 to 62. All right. So, all right. I think we touched on this pretty well. As far as the book scan, the romance genre has been increasing. I'm sure you guys are reading this, so I don't want to double down on you guys, but the romance novels sales has grown by 41%, which is crazy considering that the book market has actually kind of gone down. The readership has gone down. And again, I think that is an indicator of the women that are reading our books. So we need to dig into those analytics a little bit more, but I think that it has to do with the lowering of marriage rates and isolation. So, all right. The next step to creating a sustainable business model is investing in your business. You guys have talked about this ad infinitum, I'm sure, especially if you're self-publishing. It can be really, really expensive. We know this. So where can we focus? Creating a really strong product. This is where I said, don't spend the money on your span. If you're on a fixed budget, I'd rather see you spend the money on an editor and a really, really great cover. Because you can make the promise with the cover that, hey, this is the promise to my readers is this cover. If you don't have the editing and writing to back it up, then you have failed for your reader, and they're not going to come back. So they can overlook an ISBN. They don't really care about that. They don't know the difference. They're not going to say, you only have 53 reviews versus 10. At that level, it doesn't matter. It does for analytics on Amazon, but it doesn't matter to your reader. They're going to say, okay, this is a good book or it's not a good book. But they've fulfilled their promise. Their voice is really strong. But if you create that product that is consistent, again, if you're 3 books in and you have this, and that's why they use the same editor if you can, you're having a really, really consistent editing process, you're having really, really consistent covers and a really consistent voice. That's incredibly powerful. That's what Nora Roberts has done. That's what James Patterson has done. And in that creates a strong brand for your products, especially self-publishing. Again, this is where you go, okay, where do I want to spend my money? The next step for that is actually spending the money on a website. That direct-to-consumer sales, those are coming up, and those are getting better and better. They were big in the 90s. They were big in the early 2000s before the advent of ebooks. But now I think we're coming back to that by directly from the author, because I see my sales going up from that, and I see other people's going to because they want to support you independently. They go, well, hey, where will you make the most money? And so you can say, hey, it's actually on my website, and that's pretty cool. And people want to do that for you. So especially if you're working in smaller numbers of sales, like if you're working in hand sales and grassroots campaigns, that can be where you can make a big chunk of money, and that is so you can reinvest it in your brand. Okay, so paying for the URL. There's actually some really clever things that you guys can do when you're buying your website domain. One of the things I would say is always keep it on your author's name. So my website's author Danica Winters. I would like danicawinters.com, right? But that's sold. So author Danica Winters, it's not the name of my book. If you're like doing one book or two books, it is absolutely that, because I keep hearing people talk in the background. Sorry, if you guys have questions, just Maggie, shout them out for me. But what you can also do after you have that main domain and that main URL, which is author Danica Winters or Danica Winters or whatever it is, the next step is to buy your titles of your books and make them secondary URLs that point at your book. So what you're going to do is you're double down on the Google Analytics process and the algorithm. So I also own several other URLs that point to my website. I don't do every book because I don't find that necessary. But if you're doing 3 primary books a year, I'm into 40 books. But if you're doing 3 primary books a year, like if Maggie, you said your book was called Tuesday Means Trouble, that could be an awesome.
Yeah,
Tuesday
the new one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, .com. Pointed at your website. It's $12. It might be $20. And then if anybody Googles that, they're going to go directly to your website. And if you have your books for sale independently on your website, they're driving extra sales. You're going to make a larger profit margin off of direct-to-consumer sales than you would going through Amazon. Does that make sense?
Yep, haven't thought of that.
I know it's a strange thing, right? And you're like, "Ooh, that's cool," and that's kind of what I wanted you guys to have. So I'm like, "Ooh, that's a cool idea." All right, so the secrets. These are secrets. So when you're writing your SEO, and this is going off the topic a little bit, but if we're talking about marketing, because Maggie, you kind of said this is where I need to work on things. One of the things you can do is actually match your SEO, your search engine optimization, so your keywords and your metadata from your website and your URL and your book blurb and your website blogs all into one. So when the Google, I call them the Google spiders, come through and they're running analytics and they're looking to push books, they're pushing information, we go back to what our log line was, our tagline was, and our promise to readers. And if it matches and it's really, really consistent, and you're saying it 5,000 times on your website organically, and making sure you're running that into your keyword metadata information, all of a sudden you're having the #1 Google ranking. And if you're running independent books on your Google website or you're on your website, and Google's pushing you to #1 in, let's say, murder mysteries, and you're selling directly from your website versus Amazon, and I'm not saying don't sell on Amazon, I'm saying absolutely have Amazon links and Walmart links and every other link you can have on your website, because the more you can do that and the more discoverability you can have on your website, the better, because you want backlinks on that website, the better it is for you. And again, that goes that profit margin. If you're selling for a self-published author, you really do want to make, if you're selling a book for $10, it costs you $3 to get it from Amazon, right? As an author or Ingram Spark or wherever you're buying it from, it costs you $3. You're all of a sudden making $7 on that book. And if you're selling them independently, You have drop shipping, you don't have to worry about it. All of a sudden, your profitability is actually sustainable versus your 30% on Amazon or 70% on an ebook on a $4.99 ebook. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying doing it in addition to, okay? Because everybody's like, how do I expand that out? Because you don't have that much control over Amazon. So yes, you can still push people towards Amazon. You can still push people towards Kobo. You can still push people towards Ingram Spark or whatever other platform, Rakuten, whatever you're trying to get them out on. Well, I mean, you guys are all from Florida, so probably Amazon is your biggest market, but Barnes and Noble is a second close. All right, so
Danica, we have a question in the
Yes,
room.
ma'am.
So if
Thank
you
you.
are not if you're not using ISBN or Amazon, what are you using to publish from your website? So to get books that are bought directly from your website to the customer. Is that right? Yeah.
Okay, so you can actually run it through us through ISBN is not really big, but it isn't.
Can you say that one more time? You were breaking up.
The ISBN is sorry. The ISBN is kind of related to that, but tangentially. Tangential. I can't say the word right now. It's very early here. But they kind of run independently of each other. You can publish and do print on demand without owning that ISBN, correct? So you can order them through Amazon. You can order, there's a lot of different publishing platforms that you can do this through. Draft to Digital. This can go through Ingram Spark. This can go through, there's a ton of them. Independent independent printers, publishing printers. And again, you don't have to own. Let me know
There
if
you are.
can hear. Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yes.
I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start videos. I'm trying to do all the things. I don't know what's going on. I think it's like the ship hitting stuff. All right. Anyways, sorry guys. I'm trying to do the best I can. Be patient with me. I'm trying to walk and talk fast. Okay. So one of the important things, I've taught this class a lot. I've taught this conversation a lot, is paying yourself and setting up your business for success. I can make this a whole day class, guys. So I'm trying to go really fast and do as much as I can and give you as many tricks and as we can. And if you pull something from it and you don't kind of understand it, reach out after the class because I will have my phone and I won't be on Zoom and I won't be trying to navigate this. So one of the big things is paying yourself as an author. This is super important. You need to be reimbursed for all of the things that you do. We work really, 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 really hard, and it is so hard to make money, right? And so if you are doing this, I strongly recommend that whatever you take, so if you make $10 on a book, take $1.50 of that and put it in a side account. You need that 15% or whatever it is. Financial planners and financial advisors tell authors like us, small business owners, to put 13 to 18% away into a secondary account. This should be rolled into an IRA. It should be rolled into long-term investments. So that way you are paying yourself and you are setting yourself up for the future. This is really, really important for sustainability. I know that every cent matters and every dollar matters, but you matter even more. Because you are your asset. Your books come second. You need to take care of you first. So spend wisely, but do invest in yourself and creating a lifestyle that you are okay with. So don't put money where you can't afford it, and always pay yourself. Okay. So the next thing is don't quit. I know that this conversation has been really, really hard. Because we've been like, okay, AI is hard, discoverability is hard, marketing is really hard. And I know I'm overwhelming you with lots of information of things you can do to make a difference and bring yourself up as an author. But what I can say to make this doable, right, for everybody, because I know how hard it is. I've been in everybody's shoes. I get it. Is one small step at a time, one little win every day. And that does not mean you have to be writing. You guys are like, what? That goes against what you said. No, it can be going and buying that URL we were talking about, that $12 to $20 URL. That can be a huge win, especially if you're sitting in the hospital room with a brother or taking care of yourself or you have cancer or whatever. One win, because then you've known that you have done something to push yourself forward. And those are the wins that empower us as authors. Okay. Now, as far as actually putting pen to paper, make it a routine. Absolutely. But you don't have to do it every day. That is a lie because that is not sustainable. That will burn you out faster than anything. There are times where I write a book and I'm not kidding in 3 weeks. You're like, that's fast. And yes, it's super fast. But guess what? After I get done with that, I don't touch a pen for about a month and a half because I can't. I can't give to that. I can't pour emotion into something after I've really, really worked so hard at that. But what am I doing on those times where I'm not actively writing? I am researching. I'm doing the background work with these books. So, yes. All right. But make it a routine. Make writing a routine. You want to get ahead with what you're doing. All right. So, guys, I am sorry. I'm getting kicked out of the room, so I gotta move. But I'm gonna keep talking to you as long as I possibly can until I hit customs. Okay? I love you guys. I'm here. All right. Now reviews. This is where we were talking about ISBNs, and this is where it comes in, and it is sort of important, but the ISBNs don't really matter. Again, Goodreads. All right. So, sorry. I'm heading out right now. All right. Thank you. Sorry, I'm on Zoom. One of the big things that you can do to make a difference in your sustainability model is actually having a street team. Street teams are your grassroots campaigns. I'm sure you guys have heard of them. Mine is phenomenal. They're so great to have around. Those are the guys that bring you up too when you're fighting a fight and you're like, oh gosh, I haven't written today. So you go to your friends, you go to your groups, you go to your street team, and they go, thank you very much. Let's work together. Let's do this together. And street teams, how do you build them? One of the things you can do to build a street team is absolutely what you're doing today. Sitting in the library, visiting with your friends, visiting with your people, and going, hey, what do you write? Does this match up well to what I'm writing? And if it does, work together. Work together. If you guys can double down on those lists of people, it can be a real boon. Again, working together as a team. A lot of people with your street teams are more than willing to have and host other authors. And if you can get there, one of the best things you can do is actually, like, I'm thinking about how do we get there with me? Guys, reach out. Say, hey, I have a book that matches this book that you wrote. Let's do a cross promotion together. And for the street teams and for getting new street team members and fan club members, let's run this promotional through this. There's lots of options. Again, looking at the domestic violence, looking at the YWCA, looking at the cystic fibrosis. Philanthropic outreach is a really, really important part of that process. So as far as, I'm gonna go really fast, guys, because I have you for like 5 minutes, but I want to keep going. Don't pay for reviews. There are options for that. They're sketchy at best, and they go against Amazon's analytics and usage platforms. So if they catch you doing that, you are absolutely getting kicked off of Amazon. Okay, I know people are like, but don't do it. There's a difference between running philanthropic programs and running promotional events for readers and having paid reviews. All right. So the big takeaway here is getting your readers involved. All right. So we talked about knowing your keywords. Guys, I'm going to jump off here in a minute, but I want you to read those for keywords. Again, going into delving into your analytics and knowing your demographics are really, really important. There's some really awesome opportunities for paid advertising, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So take advantage of your low-cost advertising, your outreach programs, your street teams, and your community efforts. Guys, if anybody listening to the conversation wants to reach out with me, go, hey, can I be on your newsletter? Reach out. I'll absolutely have you on my newsletter. I'd love that. And I'd be happy to be on yours. So guys, hey, I'm sorry for cutting it short. I'm sorry for being like, hey, I gotta go. But I really appreciate being here today. If anybody has any questions, I'm sure you do because I have been flying. Don't be afraid to reach out. My QR code is at the end of this if you want to keep it up. I know you guys have the link and you can find me through that. That will take you directly to Instagram. So thank you guys. I appreciate being here. I'm going to go head through customs now and I will talk to y'all later. Thank you very much, Maggie.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Do we want to run through the rest of what her presentation is? Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So promotion. Then 6 core concepts for business.
Does anybody have an idea of how to write a log line? Can we talk about that?
And then that's her QR code. So that's the end of it.
That's really good with like brainstorming, a outline.
Yeah, does anybody know how to write a log line for yourself?
Abby, do
you have anything?
Abby's asking if you have anything, if you have a log line.
Well, I mean, Danica said that her log line is everyday heroes doing extraordinary things. I'm just wondering if anybody else, I mean, it's a cool log line, but how do we come up with our log line? Does anybody have any advice?
Abby's making her way to the podium.
Okay.
I like play some music.
I use reading that relaxes, but I wasn't certain if that would be a log line. That's kind of like the name of my newsletter, and it is kind of my brand.
I think it would need more, because that's, I mean, reading that relaxed, you would need like your genre
More words
or something in there.
Yeah.
Maggie, do you have anything to start with for a log line?
Well, I think mine used to be fall back in time where love is an adventure, because I was writing historical, but I don't know if that would be a log line, and I'm moving more into like mystery with strong romance.
So how did you come up with love is an adventure?
Because I'm writing adventure stories with romance and history. Historical time periods.
So what are you writing now?
I'm writing a series with a female private eye in 1955.
Not the series per se, but the feeling of your books.
Sizzling sweet, sizzling sweet mystery with romance. I don't know. That's my man.
Okay, so I mean, I'm thinking like a brainstorming thing, if everyone's okay with that. Does anyone have any reaction to sizzling sweet? What was it? Sizzling sweet mystery with romance?
Yeah.
All right. Any feelings from anyone? Melody, what you got? Sizzling and sweet is kind of contradictory.
I know.
I thought too.
But I just read on Facebook, somebody calls it sweet with heat. In other words, there's very, very strong romantic tension and sexual tension.
But is there, it's all off the page if they do anything. Yeah, I think sweet with heat sounds better than sizzling sweet, but even that I think is kind of, it's still kind of contradictory. But you can go with like sensual or high tension, anything that means what you're saying without using the word sizzling and sweet.
Okay. So romantic tension, sexual tension.
Yeah, use a thesaurus. Ask AI. Any other comments? Sizzling, say it again, sizzling sweet mysteries with heat, or wait, say wait, your original version, what was it?
Basically, it's sizzling sweet or sexual high tension with mystery. I don't know.
Okay, and what kind of mystery?
Like, it's basically vintage. I don't know if you'd call it historical. It's 1955, Philadelphia, female private eye.
I think technically, is it 1955? I think technically that's contemporary, but I like the word vintage, although that might make me think like 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, no, 1955, like 7 years ago. Yeah, the last time I saw. Are they going to ever update the time frame for historicals? Because I think it was like. Oh, they did raise it 5 years. So right at the end of World War II. So I don't know, use a thesaurus and see what other words mean vintage.
Mm-hmm.
Is this helping at all?
It is.
I think with log lines, everyone like brainstorming with other people is totally the way to go, because trying to think of it, you know too much of your own work to come up with it yourself. So yes, Melody. Think of the tone. Is it gritty? Is it funny? Is it hard boiled?
Yeah, I mean, I have humor, so I don't know how you put that in there.
Use the word humor.
Use the word.
Yeah, laugh out loud. Is it satirical? Sarcastic. So, because it's more with feeling than with yeah, witty, dry. Yeah. So definitely, like, when you get something, put it on the loop, and we will critique it for you and help brainstorm. And I'm like, because really, that is the, like, you can't do it yourself, y'all. It takes a village.
I think what helps me is if I can hear what other authors do, and especially like she brought up Nora Roberts. I'd love to know what hers is.
I'm guessing she's got people to make that for her, or all really she has to say is written by Nora Roberts.
I thought
That is her
Danica
brand.
actually read it to us. She told us. Danica read it to us. She knew what.
What was it?
Nora's,
She was breaking up.
I can't remember, and so does James Patterson. She knew.
Oh,
His,
America's favorite storyteller was something
Right.
like Nora Roberts.
Yeah.
Oh.
Novelist, sorry, America's favorite novelist.
Well, she can have that as her log line.
She did. I think she probably started writing in like the 70s, and probably even Nora's did. Nora's first book came out in 81. And my guess is that we didn't have to do then what we have to do now. So she might not have even had, yeah. It's pointless to look at people who have been established for over 20 years. Yeah, for creating something new. Totally agree. And I'm sorry I'm echoing you. It's just so everyone can hear. You can look for the inspiration from people who inspire you as examples.
If she started now, her career would not be the same. So trying to base current career decision.
Trying to base your decisions on past careers of people doesn't make as much sense for the for the now.
So I mean, it's inspiring. Like you can't be in this where they were in what they had. A lot of these things
Yeah.
We
I
can't
agree.
hear what everybody's saying.
Oh, so a lot of these workshops that we have are based on people that have been around and have been established, and it's hard to, like, for now to use that because they're established. I actually went to a workshop recently, and the woman was like, have people do this for you and have people do this for you, and you know, send out gifts to all your, you know, top commenters on your Facebook page. And I'm like, with what money and resources? Like, so it,
don't really do.
yeah, Nora Roberts and James Patterson don't really do any marketing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Timing is everything. They got in the 80s.
Well, no, they're not.
But they might be buying the book shots.
But like when she was saying, she was asking like how to get up, and honestly, like my TikTok is all about book talk, and that's all they talk about is their romance and how they're adding these all to their, it's called TBR, like their to be read list, and they're getting up and up and up, and every time they see this like new thing on TikTok, and everybody's commenting talking about.
We're talking about TikTok, but I can't transcribe.
And that's where like a lot of us, my generation, we're getting all of our suggestions on all these different books.
How old are you?
37.
The 37-year-old is getting all of her information on books from TikTok.
Yeah, I get her.
And so is Melody. And how old are you, Melody?
They were asking like how.
How old?
65.
Melody 35, also getting all her information on Book Talk.
We're all like, book talk. That's where you're gonna get your 18 to 40.
That's where you're going to get your millennials.
Yeah.
So,
How there's been all limited with how they're just adding them on there.
yeah,
And I'm in my 60s and TikTok is fun. I don't.
the 60-year-old says TikTok is fun.
And Abby, what you said to me before, there's 40 people in our group. And how many of us are self-published?
A lot. Yeah, 40 people in the group, and how many are self-published?
That's what they're all doing. They're all self-published on. That's what's different.
I do want to say, like, I'm self-published. I started out hybrid, but I consider myself self-published now because it's been a while since I was with a publisher. But I still want to be with a publisher because there are things they can do that I just don't want to do. So having that admission, just so you all know. They have a larger reach marketing than I do. They can get the book into places where I can't. And time, I mean, I'm sure with time I could, but I don't have time. Print distribution that we can't afford. Yeah.
That's why I was like wondering, because she was like self-published on your own website. And like, well, how do you like, who do you pay to print?
How do you self-publish on your own website, and who do you pay to print the books?
That's what I understood. That's why I was like, for Amazon, there's orders.
Abby, to piggyback,
Karen Renee, please come to the microphone so you can tell everyone this information.
Thank you.
So if they were asking about distributing print books without having to ship them yourself, there is a service called Book Vault, VAULT, and they will ship books for you to readers, but they just won't be signed. So if you're looking to, give your readers signed books, you're going to have to obviously bring those in-house and then distribute those yourself. So
I'm curious how many of us,
they are a printer. They're based out of the UK, but they are doing this like in the US as well. So yeah.
how many of
I
us
think
sell
they have
direct
a
off our websites?
Say what?
How many of us sell direct off our websites? I haven't done that yet, but I've
I
been,
don't, because of tax implications. I'm not ready to take that on. So, and she didn't talk about that, but I'm married to a CPA, so I'm not doing that yet.
I don't think most of us are doing that. I think the only one who might be doing that is Jolene.
That's true.
I think Leah Davis might be also.
That's true. You're correct.
And Joan, what did you say about Joan? Oh, Joan, go ahead.
Oh, I had a question. Oh, no, I forgot what the question is. Oh, how much is it if you go with a publisher? How much, what do you make? What are they doing? Paying royalties or percentage per book, or what do they do on publishers?
When I was with my publisher, it was ebooks, ebooks with print on demand. I got 25% royalties for ebook, and I want to say 15% for the print. And then I also had an agent, so she took 50%, 15, not 50, geez, 15% out of that. My stress level was lower.
Did you get an advance?
I got an advance, which was unusual. I shouldn't say I wasn't being special. It was just unusual at the time for ebook authors to get an advance. I don't know if they still do. It was with Grand Central.
Oh, I see.
We've had other people at that time, because this was like 10 years ago. They also got ebook deals. Their royalties were 25% until they hit a certain threshold, and then it was up to 50%. So instead of that for me, I got an advance.
And I've sold my own self-print books, but I'm just wondering, what are you saying of the tax? I mean, besides having to pay for the state taxes and stuff like that on it, sales tax, etc. What are the complications of selling your own?
Wait, based on the state from where the people buy it from? Yeah, so there's sales tax implications based on the state from where the purchaser is.
Oh, really? So you'd have to pay taxes in all the states?
But it might depend on where you ship from and to. We don't know this.
Okay, just curious if anybody had any input. Thank you. And I just had one more question from her.
Direct model makes no sense unless what? Right, yeah, direct model makes no sense
Leah,
unless you have a fan base first. I agree with that.
what printing yourself doesn't make any sense unless you have a fan
Yeah,
base first.
putting the, making your own website, your business where they can buy direct makes no sense unless you have a fan base.
Gotcha.
Because
And-
like, people are
yeah.
gonna find, they're gonna look for you on Amazon first, you know?
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, especially like if you're saying our generation is like the main generation, that's where we're going.
Yeah. The millennials said they're going to Amazon for Kindle Unlimited.
Well, it's just a high ebook right now.
Yeah.
You have all your books like right then and there.
Joan, did you have any other questions?
Oh, well, I guess that's mostly it. But I had a question about the age range because I had heard that somebody was talking about on another class about how there's an older group like the Second Chance Romance, which I like to write for. But are they the younger people reading those, or is it mostly just for our same age group? I mean, the 40s and stuff like that.
So the millennial said she reads Second Chance Romances. What's your name? I'm sorry. Erica. The millennial's name is
The
Erica.
millennials read the Second Chance Romance too.
It's real, like at this age, like it's real life to have a second chance.
Yeah, at this age, it's real life. But I think like, how old are your heroines and heroes, Joan?
I'm sorry, I lost you. He broke up. What'd you say?
How old are your characters?
In their 40s.
In their 40s. Okay, yeah, and you're close. I think though, so Amanda, I was sitting next to Amanda, and like it said, 44 of the buyers are between 44% are between 18 and 44, which leaves 56% at 45 and older. So, because I don't think 17-year-olds are being counted in this market. So there's, what was that? They didn't take the survey. So, I mean, I say write the seasoned romances. You know, the marketing might be different than if you're aiming toward a millennial, but I don't know how many Gen Xers, aside from Vanessa, are on Book Talk.
So the millennials are reading about millennials, and the older people are reading about older people. Basically, it's about their own age group.
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so sometimes new adult, young adult, sometimes not. And then Erica did say she will read the older character romances.
Yeah, no, I mean young adults, but like there's stories out there for like high school romances. I'm like, I'm not very about high school.
Yeah, so reading about high school kids is weird, but 20-year-olds are fine.
That's true. That's true. And did she have a slide deck on the second class that she was going to teach about writing the synopsis, or?
Yes.
So can we get that by email, or how are we going to get that?
I'm going to have Elise come back up here and take over.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You guys will put it up.
I can scroll through. Maggie, do you know if Danica had a problem sharing the slides, or does she not want them shared? Because I can scroll through the slides real quick.
I'm sure you can scroll through them.
Yeah.
I can, you mean as far as emailing them to everybody?
Yeah.
I'll ask
In
her.
case people want them. Let me,
But meanwhile, we can look at them now.
yeah, let me get this up. Yeah, because I think this also was like a game, so I don't know how much. Window. Okay, let's see. So this was the synopsis slide deck. There's just 13 slides. So this was a little bit of a game. All right, do we want to play a game?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to play the game.
What's the game?
So let's see, name that movie.
Pride and Prejudice.
There you go, Pride and Prejudice, right. So what do you remember about the blurb?
Can you go back to it?
The fact that it's Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I started reading it again, my thought was, it's Pride and Prejudice. It's
Yeah.
Pride and Prejudice. It's Pride and
5 sisters, wealthy families.
Little Women.
No, Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, Pride and Prejudice. Okay.
So then the question was, what do you remember about the blurb?
Prejudice. Word better off. It doesn't tell everything.
Yeah, it doesn't tell every point. So it's mentions things. There's a hook to drive the emotion.
Yeah.
Not my slides. So next one. Can we name that movie from this blurb? New York City police detective is caught up in a terrorist takeover of a Los Angeles skyscraper while visiting his estranged wife. Yeah, somebody already yelled it out. Die Hard. The detective must use his wits and skills to outsmart the terrorists and save the hostages. Action-packed thriller, plenty of suspenseful moments, and a thrilling action sequences. Terrorist takeover of a Los Angeles sky. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, it says twice.
Does anybody know Holly Lyle?
That seems redundant. In
She
the
wrote
Yeah,
it twice.
So, okay, now let's talk synopses. Okay, so how to craft an attention-grabbing synopsis.
Does she say anywhere how long she's talking? Like there's short synopsis and long synopsis.
No. So these are the two kind of substantive slides, this and the next one. The next one says the ideal length for a synopsis is about 1 to 2 single-space pages.
No.
So steps, get the basics down first, major plot points, highlight what's unique, edit for clarity and excess, clear and concise, remove any unnecessary details or subplots, make sure it flows well, is easy to read.
So that would be 4 pages double spaced?
Yeah. Or, I mean, 2 to 4 pages, because she says 1 to 2. So tips, use your outline to construct your synopsis. Need a brief hook at the beginning and a sense of urgency to keep your reader going. Ideal length for a synopsis is about 1 to 2 single space pages. So, and I'm going to show how new I am at all of these things, even though I've been coming to these meetings forever. So a synopsis, synopsis is different from a blurb. So synopsis is like going to places to be like, hey, this is what my book's about. Will you, okay, got it.
Synopsis tells the whole story, including the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what the movies, I'm like, those are blurbs. Like, so yeah, okay. All right, so that's the end of the slideshow on synopses.
Okay.
Well,
Share that, because that's great to have that.
mhm. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.